Hello everyone and welcome to another of Jade Productions reviews as we look at the latest codex to just come out this weekend past. We are looking at the Thousand Suns, so we'll jump straight into the Codex Thousand Suns and we'll take a look at it and look at some of the difference between it and the index and so on and so forth and just cover stuff. Now, because it is a Chaos Space Marines codex, a Heretic Astartes if you will, it has a lot of the same units, so we're just going to skip over a lot of the units that are recycled. We'll mention it just so you get an idea of, you know, the kind of army that the Thousand Suns can put together, but we won't go into their profiles and things. So jumping straight into it, like everything, Warriors of Lost Prospero, Thousand Suns have Death to False Emperor, and they've got Demonic Ritual. That's it. Now, the first thing we jump straight into immediately is Ahriman. Ahriman, 7 power, named HQ. 6-inch movement, weapon skill, ballistic skill 2 up, typical Space Marine stat line, strength, toughness 4. He's got 4 attacks, 5 wounds, leadership 9, 3 up save. He comes with his black staff, an Inferno bolt pistol, frag grenades, and crack grenades, and you can only have 1, of course. So, Inferno bolt pistols and Inferno bolt guns, they're still standard, you know, bolt guns, but they've got AP -2 instead. His Black Staff of Ahriman is melee, +2 strength, so for hitting at strength 6, it's AP -1. It's 3 damage instead of the D3 of a 4 staff, so that's something. You can put him on a Disc of Tzeentch for an additional 2 power, or a couple of points. If he does so, he loses the infantry keyword and gains the demon, cavalry, and fly keywords. His movement characteristic is increased to 12, and its disc has its own separate attack, which is strength 4, AP 0, 1 damage, makes 1 additional attack after it fights. He's got Death to False Emperor. He has Arch Sorcerer of Tzeentch. You can add 1 to any psychic tests or deny which tests you take for Ahriman. He's got a Sigil of Corruption, so he's got a 4-up invul save. With his Specialist Warlord trait that he has, it goes to a 3-up invulnerable save. He's got Lord of the Thousand Suns. You can re-roll hit rolls of 1 for friendly Thousand Suns within 6 inches of Ahriman. Lastly, Ahriman can attempt to manifest 3 psychic powers in each psychic phase. Juicy. He can attempt to deny 3. Also very juicy. He knows Smite and 3 powers from either the Discipline of Change, which is the new Thousand Suns discipline, or Dark Hereticus, a classic Chaos Space Marines in the standard Heretic Astartes book. So, a couple changes there immediately from the index, is his Lord of the Thousand Suns. It rerolls hit rolls now, instead of invulnerable saves, which is kind of a good thing. It makes the Thousand Suns a lot more killy and a lot more accurate in terms of their shooting, and quite frankly, they were kind of stupid the way they were before with rerolling invul saves of 1, simply because it was so trolly. It was ridiculous. The Thousand Suns were more durable than Death Guard. That's kind of not what you want. But yeah. He's pretty good. The fact that he's got access to Discipline of Change and Dark Hereticus means he's pretty good, because Discipline of Change has some very good powers in there that are great for both buffing and for direct damage. Of course, Dark Hereticus has got some fantastic powers in there, which he can take advantage of on the disc. The discs still have that danger in that they give him the demon keyword, which is... Ooh. He loses his infantry keyword, which is a lot to lose, but he gets that awesome speed buff. But the demon keyword actually gives him a fair few weaknesses, but it also opens up to a few, yeah, it actually, opens him up to a few other weird possibilities and, things as well that you can do with him if you combine him with some other Codex Chaos stuff, like from Demons. If I'm thinking about my rules right, I'm pretty sure that opens up to lots of weird combos. There is the Demon Prince of Tzeentch. This ephemeral... He's got Ephemeral Demon. he's got Prince of Tzeentch. Now, he re-rolls hit rolls of 1, made for friendly Thousand Suns and Tzeentch demon units within 6 inches of the model, which he works rather well, buffing all sorts of things. So he's a great sort of HQ if you want to lead a mixed sort of Tzeentch demon kin. He's got his Hellforged Sword, Demonic Axe, Malefic Talons. He does not have access to the Warp Bolter like the standard one from Heretic Astartes. He can attempt to manifest 2 and deny 1 in each psychic phase. Smite and 2 powers from Change, Hereticus, and the Discipline of Tzeentch. He's exactly what he's got. Other than that, he's got the same stats as a Demon Prince. So next, we've got the Exalted Sorcerer. Exalted Sorcerers. I really like these Exalted Sorcerers. So, Exalted Sorcerer is a single model armed with a Force Staff, an Inferno Bolt Pistol, and grenades. So he's got a 6-inch movement, 2 up, Strength, Toughness 4, 5 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership 9, yeah. He's got a couple of options. He's got in the Inferno Bolt Pistol. He has a Plasma Pistol option. He has a Warp Flame Pistol as an option, which is a 6-inch, Assault D6, Strength 3, AP -2, 1 damage. And this weapon automatically hits its target. He's got the Staff. He can replace his Bolt Pistol with a Plasma Pistol or Warp Flame Pistol. He can just take a Power Sword to have. So he can have both Staff and Power Sword. You can give him a Disc of Tzeentch. I quite like these guys zipping around on Discs of Tzeentch. The faster these guys are, the more readily you can abuse the lots of buffs that Thousand Suns have got in this codex, which make them really fun to play with, such as, which we'll get into later. Other than that, he's the same Lord of Thousand Suns with reroll hit rolls of 1 to hit, instead of the invul saves. He's got a 5-up invul save. The model can attempt to manifest 2 psychic powers in each friendly psychic phase and attempt to deny 1 power in the enemy psychic phase. Smite and 2 powers from the Discipline of Change and or Dark Hereticus. He's basically... Exalted Sorcerers are just smaller Ahrimans, which is to mean they are awesome. They are an awesome HQ unit. If it weren't for their points cost, a standard sorcerer would probably never take one. They do have the sorcerer. Standard sorcerer is the same as a regular sorcerer, except this one has access to the Warp Flame Pistol, and has the Favor of Tzeentch for a 5-up invul save. Other than that, exactly the same. You can take a Sorcerer and Terminator armor. Has the Familiar, which you can purchase for them if this model is accompanied by a Familiar. Add 1 to the first Psychic test for him in each of your Psychic phases. Then Teleport Strike and Terminator armor with a 5-up invul save. So, it's a Terminator Sorcerer. And that's it for the HQs. Don't think I missed anything. Ahriman's Arch Sorcerer of Tzeentch, just going back to Ahriman for a moment, that add 1 to any Psychic test or deny the Witch test for Ahriman. I think that is awesome. And it also means he's essentially got 2 Warlord traits, because there is a Warlord trait that essentially does the same thing. Means you can't stack him to get +2, but any sort of plus is a good plus. Ahriman's really beefy. Ahriman is like... I'm almost tempted to say an auto take, but he's not. But he's still very, very good. He's got a lot of things going for him. An Exalted Sorcerer is kind of like a... You want to spam some sorcerers. And you can also have standard sorcerers if you want to spam even minier versions of Ahriman. So there's that. Rubric Marines. I'll go over points cost at the end, and we'll talk a bit more about things. Rubric Marines, they're pretty much the same. Unit contains 1 Aspiring Sorcerer and 4 Rubric Marines. You can have up to 20 in a squad. Each Rubric Marine is armed with Inferno Bolt Gun, and the Aspiring Sorcerer has the Force Staff and Inferno Bolt Pistol. Same deal as before. You can take a Warp Flame Pistol on the Aspiring Sorcerer. You can give it a Plasma Pistol instead. He can't take a Power Sword, though. No, that option is not there. Any Rubric may replace his Inferno Bolt Gun with a Warp Flamer. That's still there. That's still very expensive and still very scary, since you can do some very scary combos now with some stuff we'll look at. For every 10 models in the unit, one may replace his Inferno Bolt Gun with a Soul Reaper Cannon. The Soul Reaper Cannon, and the Warp Flamer. So the Soul Reaper Cannon is 24 inches, heavy 4, strength 5. So, awkward strength spot, but hey. Winning most Marines on the 3s. AP minus 3 is very nice. It's a Marine killer. And the Warp Flamer is 8 inches, Assaulty 6, strength 4, AP minus 2. And automatically hits, of course, because it's a Flamer. So they still have All is Dust. Add 1 to saving throws. This is all saving throws. For Rubric Marines, if the attack has a damage characteristic of 1. In addition, the -1 modifier to hit rolls for moving and shooting with a heavy weapon do not apply to Rubric Marines. So, right there, you are... Wow. These guys are going to be very tough against, hordes and the likes of things that just do 1 damage to your basic guys, because they're... That just says 2 saving throws, so their 5-up can become a 4-up, and they're against high-strength 1 damage weapons, which is exceedingly rare. You probably won't use their invul save much, but their 3-up will go to a 2-up, which means you will need multiple damage weapons to really get through these guys. Things like autoguns are going to be the bane of autoguns, last cannons. That's going to be the bane of your existence. But things like mortars, mortars, frag, las guns, bolters, heavy bolters, all that's going to struggle to get through these Rubric Marines, making them very hardy. Not quite as hardy as... Good thing is, because they no longer reroll 1s, they're not quite as hardy and tough as the Death Guard Plague Marines, but they're still fairly durable for a basic troops choice. I still don't think, like with the Plague Marines, they have a cost issue, but we'll go into that. They do have their 5-up invul save, and then they have the Icon of Flame, which one Rubric Marine may take. This is a very, cute little thing. I like the Icon of Flame. I like the idea of, I wish I could put everything on the army and just watch and, see if any really funny things happen. But at the start of your Psychic phase, roll a d6 for each unit with an Icon of Flame. On a roll of a 6, inflict 1 mortal wound on the closest enemy unit within 12 inches of the model carrying the Icon of Flame. It's only 12 inches, and the Thousand Sons are a very close-knit army they are a very they do have to be in medium to close range, like the Death Guard, to get the most out of their troops, with backline tanks supporting them. But that's just a cute little thing. I like the idea of that just going off if you had like a whole bunch of Rubric Marines and just rolling that. It's just more stuff that happens in your Psychic phase. Makes your Psychic phase something. They have an Aspiring Sorcerer who can attempt to manifest 1 Psychic power in each friendly phase and attempt to deny 1 Psychic power in each enemy Psychic phase. The Aspiring Sorcerer, he knows Smite, obviously, and 1 Psychic power from the Discipline of Change. That's very important because that means while he has access to some very powerful buffs, and some good damage ones that he can, use Smite and then use those, he can't use Warp Time on himself and the squad. That's important. It means you can't deep strike flamer a whole squad of, a whole brick of 20 of these with flamers and then warp time them into range. There's none of that. And of course, they do have, when an aspiring sorcerer manifests smite, he inflicts 1 mortal wound instead of D3, or D3 mortal wounds instead of D6 if the psychic test is more than 10. Yeah. I like Rubric Marines. I like them. They're okay. They don't quite suffer from the whole cultist versus Chaos Space Marines, because there's more to them than just regular Chaos Space Marines. But at the same time, they're decent choices. But like Plague Marines, they're held back by their cost a little bit. But at the same time, their cost is a bit justified. If you make them too cheap, they become a little bit too overwhelming. Which is why we then go to your other troops choices, which are far more affordable and still just as scary. Of course, they've got Chaos Cultists, they've got Horrors, but their Zangors are still here. Zangors were introduced in 7th edition during the Wrath of Magnus, and then, of course, Traitor Legions. They're 4 power, they're troops choice. You get 10 of them in a squad, including a sergeant, a Twist Bray. You can have 30 of them in a single squad. They are all armed with Zangor Blades, which are chain swords, but with AP -1. There's nothing to complain about there. They're chain swords with AP -1, so, they're each getting 2 attacks, except for the Twist Bray, who's getting 3 attacks. Any AP is good AP, but you sacrifice any sort of shooting. Any model may replace their Zangor Blades with an auto pistol and chainsword, which gives you an auto pistol. I don't know, so you can try and soften up the enemy with lots and lots of strength 3 shots before you charge on in there. They do now. The Zangors have a stat line of 6-inch movement, weapon skill 3 up, ballistic skill 4 up, strength 4, toughness 4. So it's like charging with Marines, really. They've got 1 wound each. They've got leadership 6, 7 with a sergeant, and they've got a 6 up save. So they're very strong cultists. They're very strong and tough cultists with an invul save. A 5 up invul save. Which, it's not bad. It's a better save than a Chaos Cultist. But the Chaos Cultists have more shooting power thanks to the auto guns and their flamers. So, Cultists are still a great choice. Zangors can take a Zangors, Space Beastmen, can add 1 with their Bayhorn, Brayhorn, jeez. Add 1 to their advance and charge rolls for a unit that includes a Brayhorn. If you deep strike a huge blob of 30, that's helpful. They have Relic Hunters. You can re-roll failed hit rolls in the fight phase for this unit when targeting a character. They're gonna need that because they need a lot to, they don't pose a super big threat to characters. Because they are essentially, that's a lot of attacks that you're going to get to reroll. That's a lot of attacks and a lot of rerolls. So, you can try and mob down enemy characters. They're kind of like they're your close combat troops, where your Rubric Marines are your sort of mid-range shooting troops, and then your Chaos Cultists are your hold the line, all general shooting. And then Horrors, which have the same stuff as Horrors from Chaos Demons Codex. So then you've got your Elite's choice. Now, the first Elite choice is the Zangor Shaman, a brand new unit imported from Age of Sigmar. It is 5 power. It has a 12-inch movement. It has weapon skill and ballistic skill 3+. It has strength and toughness 4. It has 4 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 8, and a 6+ save. It is armed with a Force Staff. It rides atop a Disc of Tzeentch, and it has the Disc of Tzeentch blades. Force Staff is what you already know, +2, -1, D3 damage. The blades, strength 4, AP nothing, make 1 additional attack. It has the Aura of Dark Glory, so for 5-up invul save. Pretty much everything in here that's Thousand Suns exclusive, the same way Death Guard was when it came out. Everything that was new to Death Guard had the 5-up Disgustingly Resilient. All the new stuff here has the invul save, except for the Mutalith Beast, which I'll have to double check on that. It has the Bestial Prophet. Add 1 to any hit rolls you make for friendly Zangor units within 6 inches of any Zangor Shaman models. So it works as a buff to your standard Zangor, so you can get your big Zangor blob, or multiple Zangor blobs, hitting in melee with their chainswords on 2-ups. If you have a Exalted Sorcerer nearby, they're re-rolling 1s. Fantastic. He has Sorceress Elixir as well. You can re-roll the first failed psychic test you make for this model. This ability can be used once per battle. So if you screw up a very important roll for a psychic test and you really need it to get off, either to save your shaman or to make that huge blob of Zangors that it's supporting, or the Zangor Enlighten that it's supporting, really do what you need them to really do this turn, and you didn't manifest your power, there is your one redo to try and help you out. It's meh, to be honest. The main thing behind the Zangor Shaman is the fact that it has a very good move characteristic, and it adds 1 to your Zangors to hit rolls, and that's all to hit rolls. So all of a sudden, auto pistols are hitting on 3s. And then they have that also applies to Enlightens, which is very important, as we'll get to later. So it makes your Zangors pretty much on par with Space Marines in terms of fighting capability, just without the durability. Makes those Zangors a very tasty choice. Space Beastmen are in. Space Beastmen are in this codex. Next you have the Flamers are in here. Flamers of Tzeentch. They're Flamers of Tzeentch. Nothing new there. Scarab Occult Terminators, 11 power for 5. They are Terminators. 4-inch movement on the regular guys, and on their Sergeant, the Sorcerer, a 5-inch move? I don't know. That strikes me as something really odd, but there you have it. Of course, they're Space Marines, so 3-up, strength toughness 4. They're Terminators, so 2 wounds, 2 attacks, leadership 8-9, 2-up save. Each Scarab Occult Terminator is armed with an Inferno Combi Bolter. Awesome. And a Power Sword. Meh, pretty good. The Scarab Occult Sorcerer is armed with an Inferno Combi Bolter and a Force Staff. Okay. Scarab Occult Terminators are awesome. One Scarab Occult Terminator may replace... No, the Sorcerer may replace his Inferno Combi Bolter with a Power Sword, so you can give up, 2 additional shots or 4 additional shots at half range. I would not do that, ever. These guys do amazing AP -2 Daka, and giving that up is silly. Just, it's extra AP on a unit that, no. If you have these guys in combat, the rest of your guys are going to have to do. The staff is fine by itself. For what it does, it does more damage anyway, even if it has less AP. And you can cast, if you want the Scarab Occults in melee, which you're pretty good at it, they're okay at it as far as Terminators go. They're not amazing because they can't take all the other fancy options that Terminators can take. But hey, they're pretty good shredders. They're fantastic at countering hordes, really, as well as mech. They're really good Rubric Marines. The one Scarab Occult Terminator may replace his Inferno Combi Bolter with a Heavy Warp Flamer or a Soul Reaper Cannon. The Soul Reaper Cannon is the same as it was on the standard Rubric Marines, 24 inches, Heavy 4, Strength 5, AP -3. The Heavy Warp Flamer is the 8-inch, Heavy D6, Strength 5, AP -2. If your unit contains 10 models, which is very expensive to do, but also a really scary blob, a second Scarab Occult Terminator may also do this. So they can really pump out the Daka with 2 Soul Reaper Cannons and 8 Combi Bolters with AP -2 behind them. That has a lot of AP -2 and a lot of AP -3 mid sort of strength damage. That's pretty good. That is pretty good. I really like these Scarab Occult Terminators. But if that is not enough for you, one Scarab Occult Terminator may take a Hellfire Missile Rack. If the unit contains 10 models, a second Scarab Occult Terminator may do this. Always take this. There's never a reason not to. In an army where the vast majority of your anti-tank power is gonna come from your standard sort of, predators and stuff. The Hellfire Missile Rack is Heavy 2, 24 inches. Strength 8, AP -2. Same as most missiles. D3 damage instead of D6, though. It's better to have and not need, to be honest. It's still a Strength 8. It's still 2 Strength 8 hits hitting on 3s. Hey, no arguments there. They have Death to the False Emperor. Okay. They have the All is Dust, which means you can go to town with those heavy weapons and not have to worry about their modifiers. They're incredibly resilient. Add 1 to their saving throws if the damage characteristic has 1. They're Terminators, so to begin with, not many people are going to try and hit you with damage 1 unless their chief counter to you because of their army setup is to drown you in wave of shots. In which case, your armor goes to a 1-up, and your Terminator armor becomes a 4-up. Okay. I don't see that really coming into effect too often. Because 1s are always a failure, and the moment someone hits you with something that does slightly more damage than that, with probably enough AP to bypass your armor save, your fancy 4-up goes back to its original 5-up. So, hey. They have the Teleport Strike as well, so you can deep strike them. Fantastic with the amount of shots they can pump out at AP -2. The Scarab Occult Terminator is the same as the Aspiring Sorcerer for Rubric Marines. He can the Smite is the same with the 1 mortal wound instead of the D3 and the D3 instead of D6, and can only take from the Discipline Change. They've got access to Hellbrutes still. The Hellbrutes have 0 changes. Zengor Enlightened in your fast attack slot. These things are good and cheap. My goodness, they are even better than what I even realized upon my first reading, upon rereading this. Zengor Enlightens, if they weren't such an expensive kit, I would buy lots of them for a Thousand Sons army, and I probably still will. Though expensive is a relative term for Australians. Zengor Enlightened. I'm going to put this out here. They are really, really cheap, points-wise. A squad of 3 is 51 points. A full squad of 9 is 151 points. pair them up with some other things, they become scary. Zangor and Lighten are very cool. I do love them. Let's take a look and see why. First, their fast attack. They move 12 inches in a very slow army, where their speed is not something Thousand Sons really have. Because the basic Rubric Marines, I'm pretty sure they the basic Rubric Marines only move 5 still. And the Sorcerer moves 6, which is odd. Zangor and Lighten. They're 3 power for 3. They're 12-inch movement. Their weapon skill and ballistic skill 3 up, so they can work with either loadout, which means they can go up to 2-ups when they're near a shaman, which you definitely want to do if you're bringing these guys. You've got strength and toughness 4. It's good medium ground strength and toughness. They're 2 wounds apiece. They're 2 attacks each, except for the sergeant being 3 attacks. They're leadership 7, leadership 8 with the sergeant. The Aviarch he's called. And they're 6-up save. Doesn't matter because they've got a 5-up invul save. They're all riding on discs of Tzeentch. They're all armed with divining spears off the bat, which are only 1 point. I can tell you that now. I did this math on this last night when I first got this, after I bought it. They can take... So, all models in the unit may replace their Divining Spear. Now, the Divining Spear is a melee strength +1, so brings them to strength 5. Meh. AP -1. Okay. Don't argue with any AP. Any AP is good AP this edition. And the damage of this weapon is increased to 2 on the turn in which the bearer charged. Cool. Okay. All models may replace their Divining Spear with a Chainsword and Auto Pistol. So that brings them up to 3 attacks each, 4 on the Aviarch. Their Auto Pistols, they're hitting relatively well. Okay. Or any can replace their weapon, their Divining Spear, with a Fatecaster Greatbow. Now, if the Greatbow wasn't as decent as it is, I would probably, on the unit, I would probably laugh at the fact that there's bows and arrows inside of 40k. But the Fatecaster Greatbow is 24 inches. It is Assault 2. So the Zangor and Lighten, who are fast, can advance and fire, going to a 4-up, going to a 3-up if they've got a Zangor and Shaman with them, which you definitely want to do to get the most out of these guys. It's strength 5, not a huge concern, but you're going to be wounding Space Marines on 3s. Sweet. It's AP -1. Okay, that's 1 damage. Doesn't sound impressive right off the bat, but it is. I think. See, these guys don't have the armor save, in my opinion. They have the attacks to be able to go into combat, but then they would need to either kill what they've just charged or immediately retreat. And while they have fly, they can't immediately charge after they do so, and they're the kind of unit you want to go in and out of combats. So, no to melee for these guys, I think. I think the Fatecaster Greatbow with the 2 shots, Assault, AP -1, Strength 5, is great for zipping around the battlefield and picking on, Marine equivalents. Marine equivalents, lots of things. They're very good for just zipping around and harassment fire. And the harassment fire adds up, and because they're so cheap and you can have such large squads to them and you can put a shaman with them, they become very effective because they have 1 more. They can also be very scary to most things because of their cheapness and their number of shots, because they have 1 more thing. Guided by Fate, which is their special ability. Each time you make a hit roll of 6+ for a model in this unit, except for the disc blades on their Disc of Tzeentch. Do not make a wound roll for that attack. It is automatically successful. Saving throws may be attempted against these attacks as normal. With a Shaman, that's going off on 5-ups. You can completely bypass a unit's toughness. They are AdMech Radguns before they were nerfed. I'm unreasonably angry that such a thing exists, because I want that ability back on my Rad Troopers for AdMech. But that is awesome. The ability to bypass, to not have to make a wound roll, means that they can threaten things that are strength, that are toughness 6 and 7. Things that they would normally wound on 5s. Things that they would be wounding on 6s are not worthy of concern. Typically things with, 3-up armor saves, so I wouldn't go after land raiders with this. Light vehicles with a 4-up save that go to a 5-up with their AP -1 from the bows. Yes. Yes. I cannot express how much I think these Zangor and Lighten are fantastic units for this army. They're fast, they're fairly accurate, they're somewhat, they're 2 wounds apiece, 5 of them, they're sturdy-ish. They've got great range, decent amount of shots, they're easily buffed with psychic powers and Zangor and Shamans. And they have the demon keyword for extra shenanigans in there. They've got cavalry. They've got fly, so they can retreat and still shoot those great bows if they get charged, or if you need to, clear up some Gek mob. But their key selling point to me was just that they're so cheap. 51 points for 3 of them with the bows. 151 for 9 of them with the bows. It's a single... I like it. I like it. I recommend some. They support the standard Rubric Marines by being able to get to places they can't really reach in time. Which is neat. It adds some mobility to an army that's very slow. It also adds some decent skirmishing range. Yeah. So, they also have Screamers. Not going to talk about Screamers. They have Chaos Spawn. Chaos Spawn seem to be a very big thing in Thousand Sun armies. There's a lot of stuff in here to support Chaos Spawn. I really think they want you to take Chaos Spawn. Chaos Spawn, they can't really keep up with your fast-moving disc-mounted units. But they do make cheap shock troops. They are cheap shock troops. And you've got some ways of supporting them. You've got lots of ways of making new ones, but they all cost points, sadly. Into the heavy support slot. So, the first thing we have in the heavy support slot is another new unit. It's a very interesting unit. It is the Mutalith Vortex Beast. Now, this thing's going to take a bit to explain, and its role confused me a lot when I first read it. I did a lot of wondering about how this thing is best used, and it took me a bit to formulate my opinions on it. Because it seems a tad random, if you will, for something in a Tzeentch army. Yes. So, the Mutalith Vortex Beast. It's 8 power. It has 3 degradation. 3 degradation stat lines. It starts at movement 8. It has a weapon skill and ballistic skill of 4+. It has strength and toughness 7. It has 14 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership 7, and a 4+ save. Yes, it is not very impressive from the get-go. It is not very impressive from the get-go at all, just based on the stat line. But it still has potential. So at 4 to 7 wounds, it goes to a 6-inch move, 3 attacks, and its vortex power gets worse. And at 1 to 3 wounds, it's got a 4-inch move, 2 attacks, and its vortex power gets even more worse. So it has enormous claws and a Betentacled Maw. So, the Betentacled Maw is strength user, so it's always going to be strength 7. That's nice. AP -1. That's nice. Make 3 hit rolls for each attack made with this weapon instead of 1. Yes. 3, 6, 9... So 12 attacks at full power. That's not bad. Anything that does stuff like that. It's strength 7, which never degrades, which is okay. We can clear out Gek with lots of attacks. We can go for some mech if they're not too geared up for the close combat. The AP -1 means power armor saves can go to a 4-up, which is better than a 3-up. 50-50 chance. It's probably better against groups, but not against hordes. It has the enormous claws, which hit at strength 7, which are AP -2 and 2 damage. Whether or not you want to use those against anything bigger than infantry instead of the Betentacled Maw, I wouldn't imagine you would, because you're hitting on 4-ups. And the only buff you could give this thing to its hit rolls is rerolling 1s, because it has Thousand Suns keyword. It strikes me as one of those things you're always going to be using the Betentacled Maw. Just always, no matter what the target is, because you've just got a terrible weapon skill. Well, average weapon skill, I guess. It does have an Invul save. Sweet. Means we can buff that with some psychic powers. 5 Invul save. I mean, it's got a 4-up save, 5 Invul save. It's not super durable. It can fall to a lot of firepower, but it's got 14 wounds. It just needs to live long enough to do its thing. It does have mutant regeneration. At the beginning of each of your turns, this model regains 1 lost wound. So it does regen. That's neat. So it can potentially regain D3 plus 1 wounds. So you can try and keep it alive that way. Now, it has the Warp Vortex ability, which is a very long and very complex ability, so I will try and take us through this very slowly so that you understand it. So, at the start of each of your shooting phases, you may have this model attempt to use a single Mutalith Vortex power of your choice from the table below. Alternatively, you may randomly determine the power by rolling a d6 and consulting the table below. If you do so, you may attempt a second randomly determined power immediately after resolving the first power. Each time this model attempts to use one of its powers, roll a d6 to see if it is successful. If the result is equal to or greater than the vortex power characteristic shown in its damage table, resolve the power's effects. Otherwise, the attempt to use the power fails and nothing happens. So, at max wounds, you're rolling above a 2-up. Mid-range, 3-ups, and almost dead is 4-ups. So, interesting. Now, the Vortex Power has the following options. The first one, so if you roll a 1, if you choose to do this randomly, is each enemy unit within 9 inches of the Mutalith Vortex Beast immediately suffers a mortal wound. Okay? That can hit your guys. But if it's surrounded, I guess, hey, if you can get it surrounded, if it lives that long. Not super great. Oh no, that is each enemy. No. That's alright if you can get it surrounded. It's only a 9-inch bubble. And you don't have to roll for it, they just suffer it. It's just a matter if it lives that long. Chaotic Infusion. Pick a Tzeentch unit from your army within 9 inches of the Mutalith Vortex Beast. Add 1 to that unit's strength characteristic until the end of the turn. That just says pick a Tzeentch unit within 9 inches of the Vortex Beast. So, now your close combat Zangor Horde is hitting at strength 5, so they're wounding Space Marines on 3s. it makes your it stacks well with other things. It can make your Terminators if you stack it with the psychic power from Dark Hereticus to give you extra strength. It can affect Magnus and take him up to strength 9. Sweet, I guess, if you're playing with Magnus, not playing against him. It's okay. Temporal Flux. Pick a Tzeentch unit from your army within 9 inches of the Mutolith Vortex Beast. You can re-roll failed charge rolls for this unit. If the unit is already within 1 inches of the enemy unit, they fight first in the fight phase as if they had just charged. Or as if they had charged this turn. Sweet. That makes your close combat horde of Zangors much more reliable when you deep strike them. Problem is, I mean, if you can set up that combo, that's nice, but you can't do it first turn, because you can't send the Vortex Beast up the board without having to deploy it and then move it. You can't deep strike the beast, sadly. But, in general, a failed reroll to charge rolls is nice. It's any Tzeentch unit, so there's nothing in this codex that doesn't actually benefit from the Mutolith Vortex Beast's powers. Ephemeral Touch. Pick a Tzeentch unit from your army within 9 inches of the Vortex Beast. Improve the AP of all melee weapons wielded by this unit by 1 until the end of your turn. So, you can have Zangors with AP minus 2 Zangor blades. You can have them with chainswords with minus 1 and still have some shooting. From their auto pistols. You can make your staves AP minus 2. You can make your power swords AP minus 4. You can make Magnus even more powerful than he already is. Why? Because you're one of those guys. So, not bad. Next is Maelstrom of Madness. Pick an enemy unit within 9 inches. Reduce its leadership characteristic by 1 until the end of the turn. This is cumulative with other uses of this power. So if you have a couple of beasts, you can take it down to you can take a unit down to -3. Probably the worst of the powers. And then the last one, which I see is one that you probably want to be picking, is number 6, Beam of Unreality. Roll 3 dice. For each 4 up, the closest enemy model within 18 inches of the Mutolith Vortex Beast and visible to it immediately suffers a mortal wound. Congratulations, your Mutolith Vortex Beast can smite inside the shooting phase. Congrats. Unstable Energies is its next ability. If this model has 7 or fewer wounds, so if it's on its second degradation, at the start of your remaining at the start of your shooting phase, the ranges of its vortex powers are doubled, which means a lot of the 9-inch ones go to, so its Beam of Unreality becomes really long-ranged. Most of its other powers become 18-inch range. So, hey. But, however, it will suffer a mortal wound if you roll a 1 when the model attempts to use a power. So, you're activating your powers on a 3 up at that point, and if you roll a 1, you mortal wound yourself. Which you can heal, but yeah. And then, of course, it has Warp Implosion, so it explodes if you kill it. It explodes on a 6. Everything within 6 inches takes d6 mortal wounds. Sweet. Now, the confusing part about this Mutolith Vortex Beast and what took me a bit was how best to use it. And the best solution I can come up with is that it is a Zangor buffer. A lot of its effects are best applied to Zangors. And at the same time, you do not want to crowd around this thing, because it will die easily. So you want it to support your Zangors, but you don't want it to be near anything important. That way, if it's near Zangors, the Zangors die from the if it explodes on a rare chance, then don't worry about it. But it is, because at best you'll lose 6 Zangors. Well, at worst. At best you'll lose no Zangors, and you'll lose some buffs and some extra hitting power. It is, that's it. It is a Zangor. It's not a tank. It's not a tanky monster. It is just a Zangor buff machine. It is, again, with everything else, its buffs are sort of meh. And very situational. Like Rubric Marines and Scarab Occults, them re-rolling their charges, that's very situational that you might need that. The extra AP, super situational. Yes. AP minus 4 on a power sword is overkill. It's kind of a waste to do on one unit just to get their stuff to minus 2. Best used on Zangors with Zangor blades and Zangor enlightened with their divining rods to get you that AP minus 2. So you can get yourself some strength 5 AP minus 2 or some strength 4 AP minus 2. Or just get yourself lots of strength 4 AP minus 2 attacks with chainswords and still have some strength 3 shooting to throw around to clog up, your enemy with dice. Maelstrom of Madness is trash. You'd never use that, and pray you never roll it. Beam of Unreality is pretty much number one. If you're not going to be rolling, then you're just going to be picking that. If there's nothing you want to buff, you're just going to be using Beam of Unreality. You're just going to be trying to smite with this thing. So, yeah. Its powers do affect itself, funnily enough. So you can turn it into a bit of a monster, a bit of a beastie, if it survives long enough to reach your enemy lines. So you can add 1 to its strength, which takes it up to strength 8, which is nothing to scoff at. Strength 8 is great. The difference between strength 7 and strength 8 is very nice. In a game where most vehicles are, toughness 7 or 8. Rerolling charges will help it actually make those charges, or let it fight first in case it's about to die. Improving its AP means it's Tentacled more, which we've said before, you're always going to be using the Maw instead of the Claws. Well, it takes the Claws to minus 3. Still hitting on 4s, not worth it. But on the Tentacled Maw, AP minus 2. Hello. You're shredding Space Marines, wounding on 3s, and the Space Marines have a 5-up armor save. Not bad. Also good against light vehicles. So, it has some potential, the Beast. Its points cost is I'm gonna admit, it's not something I actually looked at. I will look at it at the end. But for what it does, it's okay. It's a very interesting sort of unit. You can use it one of 2 ways, I see, from my perspective. You can use it as just sort of like a really big Chaos Spawn, or you can use it as a really big Zangor to accompany your Zangors. Next, you got your Chaos Predator. For its keywords, it has Monster and Vortex Beast. It also has Chaos Zinch, Heretic Astartes, and Thousand Suns. Wow, it can be affected by the Dark Hereticus discipline. That makes things even more interesting. For every weakness in this army, you're going to be relying on your psychic powers to mop it up. Chaos Predators are still there, Chaos Vindicators are still there, Chaos Land Raiders are still there, Defilers are still there, Forge Fiend, Mauler Fiend, Chaos Rhinos, Helldrakes. Magnus the Red. Magnus the Red has had a few changes. So, still the same profile with a 16-inch move. Ay caramba. 7 attacks, and +2 to psychic bonus for casting when he's at more than 10 wounds. Then, of course, those degrade. Still, you know, hitting on 2-ups. He's become more accurate as well, as I'll explain. Strength 8, Toughness 7, 18 wounds, Leadership 10, and a 3-up save. Now, he has the Blade of Magnus as his only weapon, and it's the only one he needs. It's Strength ×2, AP -4, Damage 3. If a character is destroyed by this weapon, you can add a Chaos Spawn to your army, set it up within 6 inches of Magnus and more than 1 from the enemy. You still have to pay for it. You'd probably never use that. You're never going to use that, ever, actually. In terms of the Chaos Spawn ability. In terms of just being a really big beat stick, yeah, that's an impressive beat stick. Death to the False Emperor, yay. Crown of the Crimson King. So, Magnus has a 4-up invulnerable save. In addition, roll a d6 whenever Magnus suffers a mortal wound as a result of perils of the warp. On a 2+, that wound is ignored. So, basically a Farseer Ghost Helm, but without the really weird wording. So, Magnus, if he does ever perils, then, well, hey, what do you know? He's got the Gaze of Magnus still, which has had its wording changed a little bit. When Magnus the Red manifests the Smite power, he inflicts d6 mortal wounds instead of d3, or 2d6 mortal wounds instead of d6 if the result of the psychic test is more than 11. So he has to get 12. The result has got to be 12 once you add your modifiers to get the 2d6, which on a natural roll is a perils, but we won't. But, of course, perils mean nothing to him. He has Primarch of the Thousand Suns, which is changed. It no longer rerolls invul saves. Instead, it rerolls hit rolls of 1, making Magnus much more accurate. And any dice roll of 1 that are made as part of a psychic test for a friendly Thousand Suns unit, so himself included, within 9 inches of Magnus the Red, can be rerolled. So, he rerolls hit rolls of 1, and any dice rolls of 1 that are made as part of a psychic test. Awesome. It also means that he will probably never perils, because you'll never roll a double 1, and if you ever do roll a double 1 or a double 6, he will laugh it off. Magnus the Red, of course, his psychic powers are what made him so utterly insane. In 7th edition, when he was released, he pretty much knew every psychic discipline, bar a few. Now, he's a little bit different, but he still knows a lot of powers. Magnus the Red can attempt to manifest 3 psychic powers in each friendly psychic phase and attempt to deny 3 in the enemy psychic phase. Okay. He knows Smite, which his does d6, which is awesome and overpowering. And 3 psychic powers from the Discipline of Change. So he knows 3 from Change. No, okay. So he knows 3 psychic powers from the Discipline Change, Dark Hereticus, and or Disciplines of Tzeentch. With his Warlord trait, he knows a fair few. Wait. He knows Smite and 3 psychic powers from the Discipline of Change, and then comma, Dark Hereticus. Okay, so he can take 1 from any. Interesting. And then his Warlord trait gives him an extra 1. I'm just curious, because that wording seems really awkward at first compared to Ahriman's. Just bear with me a moment. So yeah, just looking at that, he knows 3 in total, but drawn from any discipline. Which is not bad, it means he can cherry pick what he wants. With his power, with his Warlord trait, he'll know an extra power. Awesome. So he'll know 4 total. from any of the 3 disciplines in this book. Alright. So, now we get into the thing everyone's really here for, the special rules. So, of course, they have Disciples of Zench, its objective secured. Brotherhood. Yeah. Yes. So, to be battle forged in Thousand Suns, you can't have any demons, just like the other Chaos factions. So, demons, you gotta bring them in a separate detachment, or you don't get your special chapter tactic. Brotherhood of Sorcerers is the Thousand Suns one. Now, the ranges of all psychic powers manifested by units with this ability are increased by 6 inches. You always want this. You always want this. Why? Because it makes some psychic powers absolutely fantastic. It makes awesome psychic powers even better, and it makes mediocre psychic powers much more versatile. Doesn't sound great when you first say it out loud and when you first read it, but when you look at the psychic powers and look at the changes it makes, then it becomes apparent that it's really good, because you rely on your psychic powers in this army to fill in the gaps in your army, to cover your weaknesses. And the ability, and, range is important. People seem to forget that. I've played a few people recently that seem to forget that psychic powers do have ranges. Brotherhood of Sorcerers. It's a nice trait. So, from there we jump straight into the Warlord traits. So, first Warlord trait, Arrogance of Aeons. Aeons. Eons, depends how you want to say it. It's just a simple reroll fail to neither which tests for your Warlord. Meh. Trash. Undying Form. Reduce all damage from your Warlord by 1 to a minimum of 1. Decent on a Demon Prince. Pretty good on a Demon Prince, actually. Aether Stride. Your Warlord can advance and charge in the same turn and can reroll failed charge rolls. You want that on a Demon Prince as well. Because on a Sorcerer on disc, you probably don't want that. Because you probably don't want to be advancing with your Exalted Sorcerer on disc. You want your Exalted Sorcerer staying behind your guys, moving around to where he needs to so he can fire off his psychic powers. He's no slouch in melee, but, he's not exactly Chapter Master Smash Fracker. Law of Forbidden Law. This is Lord of Forbidden Law. Don't know what I just said. Is Magnus the Red's Warlord trait. Your Warlord knows 1 additional psychic power. So he knows 4 psychic powers total. Otherworldly Prescience. Otherworldly Prescience. Or Prescience, depending on how you want to say it. This is Ahriman's Warlord trait. Improve your Warlord's invulnerable save by 1 to a maximum of 3 up. So Ahriman goes to a 3 up invulnerable save. Also pretty good on a Demon Prince. Brings a Demon Prince up to a 3 up save. There are 3 of these that are really good on a Demon Prince. The Undying Form, the Aether Stride, and the Otherworldly Presence are all really good on a Demon Prince. The Lord of Forbidden Law and the next one, High Magister, add 1 to any psychic tests you take for your Warlord, are good for your standard sort of Exalted Sorcerer on disc. Arrogance of Aeons strikes me as the worst one. You probably never need it or want it. Neither which is useful, but some of these, the other ones are better. High Magister, add 1 to your tests. You need your psychic powers to go off. The +1 can help make that happen. Yes. The Law of Forbidden Law, an extra power. When you have this many psychic powers as 1,000 Suns have to choose from and play with, it means you've got more versatility. It means you're not stuck with, oh no, I've cast one of everything that all my guys know. What's possibly left that I can cast? It means you don't get stuck like that. And then we go into stratagems. Now, I'll mention the old stratagems, but I won't reread them. I'll only go through the new stratagems. And 1,000 Sun specific ones that have had a bit of a tweaking. So, stratagems. We've got Linebreaker Bombardment. You've got Coruscating Beam for 3 CP. Use this stratagem in the shooting phase if you have a 1,000 Suns Warlord that did not move during your movement phase. Instead of shooting with your Warlord's weapons, which a lot of the time are not that great, or often don't even have any. Actually, most HQs don't have any that aren't pistols. Yeah, so your Warlords don't really have anything worth shooting at anyway. So you pick 2 points on the battlefield that are 9 inches apart and visible to your Warlord, so use a Warlord with Fly, stick him up somewhere high, preferably somewhere he has cover, or can't be shot, somewhere he can poke out of. That are on the battlefield that are 9 inches apart and visible to him, and draw an imaginary line, straight line, 1 millimeter wide between them. Roll a d6 for each unit that is at the center of the line passes over, subtracting 1 from the result if the unit being rolled for is a character. On a 4-up, the unit being rolled for suffers d3 mortal wounds. You can only use this stratagem once per battle. So, your Warlord Psyker looks at the battlefield and with his mind shoots a giant laser beam that goes across in a straight line. That's pretty cool. It's basically your the 1,000 Suns equivalent of orbital bombardment. You've got Great Sorcerer. Use this stratagem at the end of your Psychic phase. Select a 1,000 Sun Psyker from your army. The Psyker can immediately attempt to manifest 1 additional Psychic power this turn. Congratulations, they've copied the Eldar stuff. That only costs 1 CP. Totally worth it. Totally worth it in the right situation. Especially if you've got someone who, like most of them, who know more spells than they can ever possibly cast. 1 CP for Kabbalistic Focus. Really cool. Slight change from where it was. Use this stratagem before attempting to manifest a psychic power with a 1,000 Sun Psyker from your army. That unit is within 6 inches of at least 2 other friendly 1,000 Sun Psykers. You can add 2 to the psychic test. Sweeto. So you can get a maximum of 3 on your Warlord if he's got the right thing. But just a +2 psychic test in general is fantastic. And because now Zengors don't count as Psykers, but it just says psychic units. You know who do count as Psykers? Scarab Occult and Rubrics. You don't even need to have the Sorcerer in there. It's just in their keywords that they are Psykers. So, rules as written. Just having Rubrics or Scarab Occults near you means you can get the bonus. If you drop in a whole bunch of Scarab Occults with Teleport Strike, you can have 1 Sorcerer in there, do a really powerful Psychic or do a psychic spell a lot easier, say something you really want to get off. Yeah, Kabbalistic Focus. It's handy, and you're probably going to be able to use it a fair bit. It's only 1 CP. Fire Frenzy for still here for Hellbrutes. Relics of the 1,000 Suns, it's your standard relic thing. You have Demon Forge, which is the reroll shooting and fight phase with your 1,000 Sun Demon vehicles, and reroll failed. Yep. You have your kill shot for your predators still. You have blasphemous machines, which until the end of your phase, vehicle ignore penalty. Yep. So ignore your penalties for moving and firing your heavy weapons on your vehicles. You have a new one. Warp Flame Gargoyles, which is 1 CP. It's okay. Use this stratagem at the start of any fight phase. Pick a 1,000 Suns vehicle from your army, but not a Hellbrute or Helldrake, sadly. Helldrake, this would be really cool on. And roll a d6 for each unit, friend or foe, within 3 inches of it, subtracting 2 from the roll if the unit being rolled for is a character or vehicle. On a 4+, the unit being rolled for suffers d3 mortal wounds. So if you just happen to charge a Mauler Fiend into someone and he surrounds it, you can pop that for 1 CP to try and burn away some people. It's okay. Meh. Chaos Familiar is still here. It's the same thing as before, except it has a slight difference. Use a stratagem at the start of your psychic phase. Select 1000 Sun Psyker from your army. That model can replace a single psychic power with a power of your choice from the Dark Hereticus Discipline. From the Dark Hereticus Discipline, the Discipline of Change, and the Discipline of Tzeentch. So, what you can do is you can spend your 1 CP to deep strike your 20-man blob of Warp Flamer Rubric Marines. You can immediately use 1 CP to swap out the Smite, or whatever power the aspiring sorcerer knows from the Discipline of Change, because he can only know one from the Discipline of Change when he's first selecting his powers, and then swap it out for Dark Hereticus. I'm pretty sure you can do that. I'm pretty sure you can swap it out for Warp Time in that case. I will just double check the wording on that, because they're not restricted. It's just they have to pick from there. And he knows 1 psychic power from the Discipline of Change. So yeah, you can just swap out whatever you picked for Warp Time. Fantastic. So yes, you can do that strategy. It just costs you 2 CP. Sweet. Sweet. Chaos Familiar. That big change there is that it lets you swap out for any of the disciplines. So things that can't normally learn something from the Discipline of Tzeentch, which is only available to 2 units in this entire codex, all of a sudden you can swap that out and get something from the Discipline of Tzeentch if you really want to. Same with Dark Hereticus, same with Discipline Change. It just lets you swap. You've got Sorceress Pact, which is the demon summoning. You've got Veterans of the Long War. Nothing needed there. The Boon of Tzeentch is the Chaos Boon table, which has been changed slightly. You've got your Spawndom, your add 6 inches to your shooting weapons, add 3 to your movement. You've got a 6-up Feel No Pain, which improves to, which you add 1 to if you've already got a Feel No Pain. It doesn't stack. You can add 1 to any psychic tests you take for the character. That's pretty cool. You got your, choose anything that's not spawned with Demon Hood. Subtract 1 from hit rolls in the fight phase. Add 1 to damage characteristic of your melee weapon. Add 1 to your toughness. Add 1 to your wounds and Demon Hood. So then you've got Webway Infiltration. It's 1 or 3 CP. It is basically the Webway Strike. And it can only be from, the Eldar, the Dark Eldar. It's that. It can only target Thousand Suns infantry, so you can only put infantry in there. But I think infantry lists are going to be pretty good. Especially since they're the things you want deep striking. A lot of your vehicles, they can afford to run and charge up. What you have available anyway. The rest can all sit back and shoot. You'll probably be using that. You'll probably be using that at least once every game. There's no unit that doesn't benefit from getting, into a nice spot on the map. You got Soul Flare for 1 CP. Use it when a Thousand Suns Aspiring Sorcerer or a Scarab Occult Sorcerer, so your Sergeant, is slain. Before removing the model, roll a d6 for each enemy unit within 6 inches of that model, so subtracting 2 for characters and vehicles. 4-up suffers a mortal wound. Trash, we'll never use it. It's meh. Unless you really are hoping to do a very funny suicide bomb, there are better things. Better uses for your CP. Fated Mutation. This allows your Chaos Spawn to be more effective shock troops. At the start of the fight phase, before a unit of Tzeentch Chaos Spawns, it has to be Tzeentch Chaos Spawns from your army fights. Instead of rolling D3 for your Mutated Beyond Reason ability, you can just choose a result. And you can re-roll the number of attacks for each Chaos Spawn. It turns them into better shock troops on a big blob that's actually managed to reach combat 1 CP to make them make their points back, or at least prove to be a decent points investment. It's not bad, considering how cheap spawns are. Otherwise, it's, just a little hilarious thing. Vengeance for Prospero. Use the stratagem just before Thousand Suns units from your army fights in the fight phase until the end of the phase. That unit's death to the False Emperor ability triggers on a 4+ instead of a 6 if the attacks are targeting Space Wolves units, because, let's be honest, they need all the help they can get when fighting the clearly far superior Space Wolves. I may be a touch biased since I am a Space Wolf player. Since I have Space Wolves. The Flesh Change. Use this stratagem at the start of any phase. Pick a Thousand Suns infantry character from your army. That character is slain, but you can add a Chaos Spawn to your army. If you do, set up the Chaos Spawn 6 inches away from where the character was before removing them as a casualty. A Chaos Spawn created in this manner must have the Zinch keyword and does not cost any reinforcement points in match play. Congratulations, if you want to deny a victory point for someone killing a Warlord, 1 CP, boom, he's a Chaos Spawn instead. You want, your Chaos Spawn is about to be charged and screwed in combat. I mean, Chaos Spawn. If you've got a Sorcerer that's about to die, 1 CP will change him to a Spawn, see for shits and gigs, and see if he can't do a little bit of damage. He'd probably do more as a Sorcerer, but that's a bit of debate. 1 CP, Inferno Bolts. You use this on a vehicle before the battle begins. You select a Thousand Suns vehicle from your army and select a Combi Bolter, Combi Melter, Combi Flamer, Heavy Bolter, or Twin Heavy Bolter that the model is equipped with. That weapon is upgraded into an Inferno Bolt rounds. Change the AP characteristic to AP -2. Yeah, that's meh. That is very meh. That's crap, actually. There aren't very many good targets for that, to be honest. Yeah, no. I mean, you could put it on Land Raider, I suppose. But I can think of better investments for your CP, like command rerolls or Webway Infiltration. Or one of the future ones I'm about to read out. So next you've got the Baleful Vortex for 1 CP. Use the stratagem after a Mutalith Vortex Beast from your army has resolved a Mutalith Vortex power. Roll a d6 to randomly select a Mutalith Vortex power. The Vortex Beast immediately uses the power rolled, even if it has already used that power this phase. Furthermore, the power is automatically successful. No dice roll is necessary. So, you can get up to 3 powers off with your Vortex Beast. Essentially getting 1 for free at the cost of a command point. So, hey, that's okay. We discussed the Vortex Beast in detail. It has a lot of potential, a lot of things it can do. You don't say no to... I mean, if you're lucky, you'll get some mortal wounds. If you're unlucky, you'll buff something nearby or the beast itself. It's super situational. Super situational, but it's only 1 CP. Hey. Cycle of Slaughter. This is awesome. This is very, very awesome, especially on Zengors with lots of attacks and lots of AP -1 if you do the stuff correctly. Use the stratagem at the end of your fight phase. Select a Zengor unit from your army. That unit can immediately fight an additional time, and it only costs 2 CP instead of 3, like everyone else's. Way to go, Zengor Blobs. You've proven to be super effective. Okay, now we reach the Sorceress Arcana, which are the relics. Don't know why that took me so long to figure out. Okay, so we'll go through these relics relatively quickly. There's 3 weapons and 3 other things. You've seen one before, but we'll just recap it anyway, because some people might not have read Chapter Approved. Those people are missing out. Alright, so the relics. Starting with the first one, Seer's Bane. Model with a 4 sword or power sword only. That's not a lot of models. Seer's Bane, it's a 4 sword basically. The strength of the bearer is doubled when The strength of the bearer is doubled when targeting enemy when targeting enemy psycho units or enemy units that include any models with a leadership characteristic of 9 or higher. So, if you're hitting something with leadership 9 or higher, or is a psycho, because Thousand Sons apparently hate psychos, really weirdly, you're hitting at strength 8? Yeah. That's really bad. That's not a great relic, to be honest. And, it would be better if it was a relic you could put on your Demon Prince. To make your Demon Prince a bit better, but your Demon Prince can't take that. Because it's a Force Sword or Power Sword only, and the Demon Prince does not have either of those. On the Demon Prince, that would have been nice, but I guess you can't win them all. You've got the Dark Matter Crystal next. Once per battle, at the end of your movement phase, you can select the bearer or a friendly Thousand Sons infantry unit within 12 inches of him. Remove that unit from the battlefield and immediately set it up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from any enemy models. This does not count as falling back if the unit was within 1 inches of enemy models. That's pretty cool to be able to pick up your thing and go. It's a pretty good relic. It's the first of the non-weapon relics. Helm of the Third Eye. If your army is battle forged and the wearer is on the battlefield, roll a d6 each time your opponent uses a stratagem. On a 5-up, you gain 1 command point. Anything that gives you command point back is alright, but it relies upon your enemy spending command points, so it'll be better against some factions against others. Is it worth paying a CP for? Or just taking? None of them immediately pop out as sort of auto takes off the bat, but there might be some stuff. Dark Matter Crystal is definitely the most useful. Then you've got the Corsicator, which is a model with Inferno Bolt Pistol anyway. It makes the pistol 3 shots and D3 damage. No. I wouldn't pay command points for that. I wouldn't even take it for free. Considering, you're asking... The Sorcerer's Smite is double that range, thanks to Brotherhood of Sorcerers. No. The Athenian Scrolls, which were in Chapter Approved. I like this relic. I like this relic a lot. But its chances of working is so-so. If you roll a double when making a successful psychic test for the bearer, your opponent cannot attempt to resist that psychic power with a Deny the Witch or negate it by any means. It's the negate it by any means that is the thing that hooks me immediately. Problem is you need to roll doubles. Note that on a roll of double 1 or double 6, and if slain by perils of warp, that the power they were trying to manifest will still automatically fail. Sure. Perils of warp, that stays the same, whatever. It's the can't be negated by any means, but at the same time, you need to roll doubles. It's, it's good, but it's kind of like, if I can equate it to something, it won't go off all the time. It'll go off some of the time. Kind of like the, it'll go off more regular than, say, something like the Tallyman ability. But it'll go off once. It's the matter of, I can see this relic, especially with the way I roll and the way dice work. When you most need this ability to work, it just won't. And when you roll a power that you just don't care about, well then, of course, that'll work. So far, but the Dark Matter Crystal and the Helm of the Third Eye stand out as relics worth taking. Probably not worth paying CP to take extra relics in this army, unless you're trying to take from one of those. The Prismatic Staff is not bad. It's the final relic. It's modeled with the 4 staff only, which is a lot of things in this army. It is probably best on something on a Disc of Tzeentch. The bearer can shoot, and it's just a normal 4 staff, but the bearer can shoot and charge during a turn in which it fell back. The thing in there is that it can charge during a turn in which it fell back, which means you can have your sorcerer, your exalted sorcerer, sort of jump in and out of combat, which keeps him alive a little longer. So, you know what? It's not bad. It's probably the best of the weapon relics that are available. The best of the non-weapon relics is got to be the Dark Matter Crystal. There's a lot of potential play in there. It's good fun. Especially since you can move. You put it on something with a lot of movement, like someone on a disc. I see a lot of the time if you're not got a sorcerer on disc using a lot of these. Pretty much they're all designed for exalted. They're all designed for exalted sorcerers. Like, there's nothing here in these relics to help your demon prince out. All of those are in the warlord trait, sadly. Yeah, you're not going to be relying on your relics in this army. They're more of a, they're here. The prismatic stuff is not bad, but I mean, you know, it's still a Chaos Lord, basically, but with psychic powers. There's still potential play on that prismatic stuff, which is the best one of them. The Corsicator is okay. The Seer's Bane is trash. Okay, so psychic powers. This is where we're in the final stretch. So the psychic powers, we've got the discipline. Now, there is 16 to choose from. There is 16 psychic powers to choose from. That's 3 disciplines. So, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, sorry, 18. I math well. 18 psychic powers to choose from. So, the new discipline available to the Thousand Sons. Now, this is on all their sorcerers can choose from this. All their non-demony guys can choose from this. Pretty much this is their discipline that pretty much, their general discipline that everything can pick from. And the 2 other disciplines are reserved for specialist units that are able to cherry pick between 1 or 2 or all 3 in Magnus's case. So, the first one is Tzeentch's Firestorm. We've seen this before. It has a warp charge value of 7. If manifested, select an enemy unit that is within 18 inches, which gets bumped up to 24, of the Psyker, and is visible to him. Roll 9 dice. The enemy unit you selected suffers a mortal wound for each roll of a 6. On average, that's not doing well. But it's a thing you can cast to try and get more mortal wounds. You know, it's not bad on aspiring sorcerers and the like. Boon of Mutation. Has a warp charge value of 7. If manifested, select a friendly Thousand Sons character, but not a demon character. Very good distinction there. It can't be a demon prince, and it cannot be Magnus. So it has to be a sorcerer, Terminator sorcerer, or exalted sorcerer, or a shaman. You roll... So, and they've got to be within 3 inches, which gets bumped up to 9, thanks to... Friendly Thousand Sons character, but not a demon character, within 3 inches, which goes up to 9 inches. Roll 2d6 and consult the chart on the Boon of Tzeentch stratagem to see what effect the power has on that character for the rest of the game. Free Boons of Tzeentch. Alright. Now, I've been riding hard on the case of Exalted Sorcerers and the like. But you can, like, they're not bad. And even with some of those relics, you can buff them. You can buff them very well, but they're very essential to your strategy, so losing one is a big blow. And Exalted Sorcerers are expensive. This is a nice thing for buffing up sorcerers. Never use it on your warlord, because the chances of turning your warlord into a spawn is there. Just don't do it. But on other sorcerers that are around, you can have one sorcerer buff a whole other sorcerer into being a big beat stick. If you're lucky, you can make a demon prince that doesn't cost you any points. So, you know, it's not bad. it lets you turn your characters into, you know, bigger beat sticks to try and compete with, you know, the powerful characters from other more varied factions. Space Wolves! Next, you've got the Glamour of Tzeentch. I see this one being an auto take. You will always have this in your army. You will always have a unit, probably a very survivable backline unit, knowing the Glamour of Tzeentch. Why? Because it's Warp Charge value 7. You select a friendly Thousand Suns unit. So yes, it can target Magnus. Within 12 inches of the Psyker until the start of your next Psychic phase, your opponent must subtract 1 from any hit rolls they make for models that target that unit. It's a -1 to hit. And with Brotherhood of Sorcerers, it goes up to an 18-inch range. You put that on a guy on disc, you got a pretty big bubble that you can move that to put it on. It's a -1 to hit. It's so effective. The -1 to hit is so effective. Yeah. You're gonna have that. You're going to have at least one thing in your army, no Glamour of Tzeentch. Or you're going to use a stratagem to swap out for Glamour of Tzeentch. I see you can use that stratagem after you lose your guy with Glamour of Tzeentch to swap out one of his psychic powers for Glamour of Tzeentch. You want Glamour of Tzeentch. Doombolt. This is a warp charge value of 9. It is now the highest warp charge value of all the psychic powers in all 3 disciplines. I'm pretty sure. No. It's on par with Bolt of Change, which I thought they changed in Codex Demons. Well, I must be imagining things. So, Doombolt, warp charge value of 9. If manifested, select an enemy unit within 18 inches. Goes up to 24 of the Psyker. And visible to him, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, and in their following movement phase, must halve their move characteristic and cannot advance. That's great, because it's a targetable smite. And that's great, because it can really slow down units. Problem is, getting it off. Getting Doombolt off is going to be hard for anyone who's not really Ahriman or Magnus. Yeah. Then you've got... Now, this psychic power makes me angry. Temporal Manipulation. It has a warp charge value of 6. Costs 1 higher than Nurgle's Chaos Power. That does the same thing. If manifested, select a friendly Thousand Suns model within 12 inches, 18 inches with Brotherhood of Sorcerers, of the Psyker. That model immediately heals D3 wounds. I am dismayed and angered that such a power exists. Why does the Thousand Suns have this power? Why do the Thousand Suns have this power? Why do the Death Guard not have this power? Why? Why do Chaos Demons of Nurgle and Thousand Suns have this power? Why do the Death Guard not have this power? Why do Demons of Tzeentch not have this power? It is... I get angry at anything that really heals because it's a really rare thing in this game. Healing is a rare thing, and it's becoming less rare and more infuriating fluff-wise to the guys who have it. Like, seriously. And of course, now it means you can just heal Magnus. Why not? Why not? Sure. Next is the Weaver of Fates. It has a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select a Thousand Suns unit within 18 inches, goes up to 24 inches of the Psyker. Until the start of your next Psychic phase, the invulnerable save from that unit is improved by 1 to a maximum of 3+. Models that do not have an invulnerable save instead gain a 5+ invulnerable save. So it lets you give 5+ invul saves to your vehicles. Your demon vehicles, it gives you a 4+ invul save on them. On your Zengors, it's giving them all 4-ups. You can put your rubrics to a 4-up, which, if they're getting hit by 1 damage things, becomes a 3-up. Which is pretty cool. Same with Scarab Occults. You can put Magnus to a 3-up invulnerable save. So, this discipline is fantastic. It is a fantastic discipline. I love all of it. Because it is really powerful. But, unlike the Death Guard Codex, who the majority of the psychic powers are worded in such a way that they do not affect their demon Primarch, these are worded in such a way that all but one affects their Primarch. Which means you can have Magnus throwing out ridiculous amounts of psychic powers and ridiculous amounts of mortal wounds. You can heal Magnus, D3 wounds. You can have -1 to hit on Magnus, which is better than a Feel No Pain. And you can give him a good old 3-up invul save. And of course, if you have the Changeling in your list, because you're one of those people, then he has a 6-up Feel No Pain on top of that. So, Magnus infuriates me. I stand by a comment and a common argument I have with everyone I know is that Mortarion could not beat Magnus. And with the changes to Magnus in here, with his access to all of these disciplines, I stand by this statement. It's a very good discipline, though, on if you don't have Magnus. Like, those are very good psychic powers, all of which are really good. Doombolt's a little hard to cast. Tzeentch's Firestorm is a little unreliable. Boon of Mutation is fun, but Glamour of Tzeentch, Temporal Manipulation, fantastic on a Demon Prince as well. But it just says Thousand Suns model, so it can target your tanks as well. So your Vortex Beast as well. Everett just heal something, heal it. You can heal one thing. It's D3 wounds, but it's better than no wounds being restored. A Weaver of Fates, improve invul save. That's sweet, sweet. Thousand Suns, they need it. They're not a. They're a very resilient army. They're not super killy until they sort of reach the mid-range where they get, their rapid fire stuff. And their tanks, tanks are about as survival as tanks. So, making those all right to, you can put the -1 from Glamour of Tzeentch on your tanks as well. So, it just makes your very hefty points investments. The Discipline of Change makes you a very hefty points investment last a little bit longer so that it actually has a chance to recuperate the points you've spent on your units. Now you have the Dark Hereticus Discipline. I will recover a lot of these real quickly just in the context of how they help the Thousand Suns in particular. You've got Infernal Gaze, which goes up to 24 inches. It's warp charge value of 5. Roll 3 dice. On a 4-up. Mortal wound. Sweet. More mortal wounds. More mortal wounds. Death Hex, warp charge value of 8. Very easy for certain characters cast. Especially with the rerolls that Thousand Suns get. Or with the pluses you can give them. It goes up to an 8-inch range. 18-inch range, sorry. Because it's 12-inch range normally. Deny invul saves. Sweet. Sweet. Gifts of Chaos. It's more mortal wounds. It's more mortal wounds based on the toughness. It's probably... I don't see using that one. Unless you're facing big hordes of Gek. Of Guard. Prescience. Sweet. Heretic Astartes unit. Within 24 inches for Brotherhood of Sorcerers. 18 normally. Add 1 to their hit rolls. Zengors have Heretic Astartes in their keyword. Zengor Enlightened can get their auto wound on 4-ups with a Shaman next to them. The Shaman cannot cast this on them, but a Ahriman can. It's a combo. It's sweet. And, you know, don't -1 to hit on anything on a Heretic Astartes, which is most things in this. That's pretty good. It's very good. It and Death and, no, not Death Through the False, not, does stack with Death Through the False Emperor, but I'm thinking about, the stratagem. Veterans of the Long War. Yep. Cool. Make your guys more effective. Diabolical Strength. Heretic Astartes. It can target Magnus. Got an 18-inch range with Brotherhood of Sorcerers, Warp Charge 6. Add 2 to the model's strength characteristic and 1 to its attacks. That's good on a lot of things, actually. Number one thing, so, obviously a Demon Prince is a prime target for that. Can't cast on Mutalith Vortex Beast, sadly. But it can improve the effectiveness of your Scarab Occult. Nah, no reason to argue with that. You have Warp Time. Warp Charge value of 6, Heretic Astartes. There's a few things in this codex it doesn't work on. And it has a 9-inch range with Brotherhood of Sorcerers. We all know what Warp Time does. We all know why Warp Time is good. There is no further need to address Warp Time. So, our last psychic power tree is the Discipline of Tzeentch. Only 2 models in this... only 2 units in the army have it. So just to recap. Anything that's a Zangor or Standard Sergeant has access to the Discipline of Change. All your Exalted Sorcerers, and Ahriman have access to Dark Hereticus and Discipline of Change. Yeah. And then your Demon Prince and Magnus have access to all 3, including this last one. And in this last one, you've got, you know, all the new stuff that was added for Demons of Tzeentch in their codex. So you've got Boon of Change, +1 attack, +1 strength, +1 toughness, depending on what you roll. Okay. The things casting it, the things that are able to cast it are the only eligible things that it can be cast on. Bolt of Change. Magnus is the really only guy who can cast that reliably. But the spawn thing is meh. Gaze of Fate. Yes. Just like with Demons of Tzeentch, you're going to have someone who knows that. If they can know it, if you've brought someone like that, if you've got your Demon Prince, you're probably going to cast that first. Demons of Tzeentch. Again, Magnus stands a pretty good chance of casting it, just like a Lord of Change does. He's probably got it better since he can re-roll his dice and he can get bonus. He can go up to +4 with the right stratagems. So yeah. Well, it's hilarious if you can roll above their leadership. Let's put it that way. Flickering Flames. This is pretty good, but it only affects demon units. None of the demon units that can be taken inside of a 1,000 Suns without breaking your Battle Forged and taking away your 1,000 Suns bonus are operable for that. So that's an allies thing. Flickering Flames. But Magnus can have Infernal Gateway, so he can have a Vortex. Magnus can throw out, you can do the thing that was in 7th edition, where you could just have a whole bunch of sorcerers, they work as batteries, just casting spells on Magnus to buff him up to insane proportions, while Magnus pumps out lots of mortal wounds, and then kills anything else in melee. You can do the same thing. And then, of course, surrounded with Scarab Occult to fill in the rest with Daka. So, Discipline of Tzeentch is the one you'll probably use the least, but it's got some stuff in there. Gaze of Fate, probably one of the best ones there. Infernal Gateway as well. Points values, I'll give a quick address to this. So, points values. Your Demon Prince of Tzeentch is 146 naked. And 146 naked. Yeah. He's got his things. They don't cost, you know, you can get your malefic talents for 10, you know, all sorts of things. Yeah. Chaos Cultists, 4 points. Rubik Marines, 18 points. Zengors are 7 points. They are 1 point more expensive than Poxwalkers. And you can have 10 more of them in a unit. Most Death Guard players would kill to have 30 Poxwalkers in a unit. Zengors are awesome and cheap. Because, especially if you give them chainswords and pistols. Because their Zengor blades... Nope. Actually, their Zengor blades are 0 points as well. I thought they were 1 point, but I'm thinking of the Divining Spears for the Zengor Enlightened. Yeah. It's just 7 points for Zengors. Go nuts. Go nuts. Space Beastmen are really good. So this army is Space Beastmen supported by Space Psychic Egyptians. Rubik Marines are 18 points base. They go up to 20 points when you give them their bolter. The Aspiring Sorcerers, unlike the Index, are just folded into that. They just cost 18 points plus their stuff. So, this is the thing. They are now more expensive than the moment you add those 2 points in for their AP -2 bolter. They become 20 points a model. That is really expensive. Like, that needs to come down. They need to cost almost the same amount as Plague Marines to be worth considering, in my opinion. Especially when Zengors are so cheap and effective. And you can deep strike massive blobs of 30. 60 Zengors just deep striked in on you. That sounds fun. And your opponent has another, 4 blobs of 30. Sweet. So yeah. Back to HQs real quick. Your Demon Prince of Tzeentch with wings is the one you're probably going to be taking all the time, since wings. 170 points. Exalted Sorcerers on foot are 112. I don't think that's a big difference. Same with the chapter approved changes. Exalted Sorcerer on Disc of Tzeentch, 132. Plus a little bit for their... So, plus an extra 8. So, 140. Once you give them their staff, and then because they have their special... they're 141 points once you give them at base stock. They're 141 points for your Exalted Sorcerer on Disc of Tzeentch. It's not bad. The Sorcerer is cheaper. The Exalted Sorcerer is... Yeah. Problem is, the Exalted Sorcerer on Disc is really good, but points cost wise, you might take 1 or 2, and then maybe 1, and then you'd have, a whole bunch of 95 point sorcerers, or they become something like, I don't know, they reach just over 100 points for your lots of little sorcerer batteries, which they can cast fewer psychic powers, but they know the same amount from the same... They can cast fewer, and they know fewer, but they can draw from Dark Hereticus, and they can draw from thing. Sorcerer and Terminator Armor. It's an odd choice. It's 120 points. Without its war gear. I'd rather just take the disc. And then buff yourself up. Yeah, everything's... Scarab Occults are 33 points. So, Scarab Occults are 33 points base. Then you put a power sword on them, and they become 33, 34, 35, 36 points. And then they've got their Inferno Combi Bolt Gun. So what did I say? 36, 7, 28. No. So they become 39 points apiece just for the non-Sergeant guys. That's expensive. That's very expensive. They're good. They're not that good. That is That is a huge point sink. A deadly point sink if things go your way. A not so deadly point sink if you, if the dice betray you. Zengor Shamans are 82 points base, and then they've got the 4 stuff, so, you know. So, 90 points for a Zengor Shaman. Knows 1 Discipline of Change power. Sweet. Buffs your Zengors. Sweet. It's got movement of your disc. Sweet. It's only got 5 up invul and a 6 up armor save. Okay. That's okay. We can have a fair few of them. And it's one of 3 elites choices in the army. So, and Scarab Occults and Hellbrutes are your only other thing. So Scarab Occults cost a fair bit, so I don't foresee you spamming those. Zengor Shamans, however, they're cheap. You can take many. You can fill up those elite slots. You can have many of them running around, casting powers and supporting your Zengors. Or running around and supporting your Zengor Enlighten. The Chaos Spawn, meh. Zengor Enlighten. Now, Zengor Enlighten are 15 points base, and they are 15 points if you just give them the Chainsword and Pistol. They're 16 points if you give them the Divining Spear that they start with. Or you can have them at 17 points each with the bows. And they come in squads of 3 to 9. They are insanely cheap. Insanely so. And so many, you can buff them and so many, you can make them so effective. Those supporting huge blobs of Zangors with Mutal the Vortex Beasts, and then things with Predators and Forge Fiends, backed up with Demon Princes of Tzeentch and a couple of Sorcerers and Helldrakes. That's awesome stuff. That's awesome sauce. Heavy support, yeah, a lot. That's all the same. The Mutalith Vortex Beast is 150 points base, and then his stuff that he's got is 0 points. Yeah, so he's just 150 points. Mutalith Vortex Beast, 150 points for a wacky, random, medium unit that can go one of 2 ways. You know what? I wouldn't pay any more for it. It's reasonably priced for what it is, I guess. Considering, you know, all the rest of its war gear is free and it can do mortal wounds and stuff and buff your guys. It's there. Points conventions for demons are the same. Ahriman is 131 points, including all his war gear. So, here is the issue, right? An Exalted Sorcerer on Disc of Tzeentch is 132 points. A Standard Ahriman is 131. Ahriman does everything better, but he just doesn't have the movement. Ahriman on disc costs 166 points. Now, that's a spicy meatball. But, Ahriman on disc, sweet. If you're taking Ahriman on disc, you probably don't want to take an Exalted Sorcerer. You just stick to cheap battery sorcerers. Or just cheap Exalted Sorcerer. Just, Ahriman's pretty good. His point cost is a little high, but it's nowhere near as high as some other Space Marine characters or some other characters. So, hey, there we go. Magnus the Red, he's 445 points. He went up a few points. Still underpriced. Considering a Wraith Knight costs more than him, and he would destroy a Wraith Knight, very easily, like flick of the wrist. One offhand turn of a few psychic powers and a little bit of melee. Boom, done. He's so undercosted. It is the same with Gilliman. Putting him up 30 points does not make a difference. But there you go. That is the Thousand Suns. A very interesting army. Lots of changes there. They look very fun, very flexible. They've got their new units. Add a lot of different flavor and variety. They certainly have some fun things they can do. They're a little expensive in some areas and are very cheap in other areas points-wise. Strange. But they are very good. Whether or not they're competitive, it's hard for me to say on that, because competitive Chaos players tend to mix and match Chaos soup with the best of what's around. Magnus definitely got... I'm going to say Magnus got a little bit closer to his 7th edition counterpart in terms of sheer ferocity. But yeah, relics are overall disappointing. Psychic Tree is pretty fantastic. New units are pretty good. Zengar Enlightened, Zengar Shamans. Their stratagems are okay. There's only a few standout ones that you probably be using. The rest are all pretty generic Chaos stuff. Yeah, that's it. I'm a little underwhelmed, but at the same time still enthusiastic to the point where I would still consider starting Thousand Suns Army. But Space Wolves rule. So, that concludes our review for Codex Thousand Suns for 8th edition. Thank you all for joining us, and see you next time. I think the next Codex coming out is Codex Drukhari, or Dark Eldar as they're actually called. So thank you, and see you then. Leave a comment below about what you think of the Codex if you've got your hand on it, and what you think about the Thousand Suns in general.